Three things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Buddha. You can feel it under the surface, like a quiet pressure behind the eyes. You follow the script, keep the pass, and still feel life happening to you. The calendar moves, the bills come due, and a muted question keeps tapping the window of your mind. Is this all there is, or am I missing the doorway that everyone forgot to mention? You were taught to take the world as given. You were taught the frame is the film, but the voice inside you suspects the opposite is true. The chair under you, the light on the wall, the noise in the room are only the front stage. The real production is happening where your senses cannot go. That is why trying harder in the same lane rarely changes the destination. You end up fixing scenes instead of changing the script. You end up controlling effects instead of finding the cause. Most of us learn to navigate by reaction. News flashes, traffic stalls, inbox fills, and we adjust as best we can. We call it being realistic. We call it being responsible. But the deeper truth is that reaction is a narrow hallway built by habit. It traps you in a loop where yesterday's assumptions become tomorrow's weather. You can be brilliant, ethical, and generous, and still feel exhausted, because your attention is glued to the visible scoreboard. What if the scoreboard is only a mirror? What if your world is not a judge, but a flawless, reflective surface? That would make your state the brush that paints the day. That would make your assumptions the hidden ink that writes the scene before you wake. Here is the promise in plain language. When you understand that life is a mirror and you are the projector, you stop polishing the glass and start adjusting the beam. When you learn to hold a chosen inner state as already true, you select a different reel from the shelf of possible futures and step inside it. Stay with me, because I will show you how to notice the signals, how to build the scene, and how to rest in the feeling until the mirror must change. If this resonates, comment amen, present, or I am in. Tap like and subscribe, and stay to the end for a simple 60-second practice you can do tonight. Many traditions speak of the world behind the world. They point to liminal hours, thin veils, and the sacred joining of body, mind, and spirit. They remind you that the five senses are precise and limited at once. Like a camera with a prime lens, you get sharpness, but you sacrifice breadth. You are not broken if you feel more, notice more, or hunger for more meaning in ordinary days. You are sensitive, and sensitivity is a compass when you learn how to read it. Fear turns sensitivity into static. Reverence turns it into guidance. When you treat your inner life as the control room and not as background noise, you reclaim authorship. The alarm clock stops being a summons to battle and becomes a bell to awareness. Think of 3 dimensions as a single frame of a long film. You touch what is here. You navigate what appears. The 4th dimension is the film strip itself. All frames exist at once, and what you call future is simply the frame you align with. Alignment is not strain. Alignment is selection. You do not wrestle a new scene into existence. You assume it into view. The law is simple, and it is humbling. What you hold as real within you, consistently and feelingly, becomes the pattern your outer life must echo, not because a distant force decides to reward you, but because reality is a perfect mirror. The mirror never argues. The mirror never delays. It reflects the image it receives. This is why trying to manage people, headlines, or numbers without changing your inner premise feels like bailing water with a sieve. You can mop the floor all day, but the tap stays open. Shift the state, and the conversation changes tone. Shift the state, and the same hallway leads to a different door. This is not naive optimism. This is basic causality at a deeper layer. The projector determines the film you watch. The state determines the storyline you meet. You already use this power unconsciously whenever you rehearse fear or replay defeat. You can feel how quickly your mood colors the room. The task ahead is to bring that process under gentle, steady control. Start with noticing. Awareness is the first form of mastery, because it reveals the pattern behind the pattern. Watch your mornings for a week. What is the first assumption that greets you when your eyes open? Do you brace for impact, or do you receive the day? Listen to your speech in small moments. Do you describe yourself as behind, unlucky, or overlooked? Your words betray your inner premise. They don't just report the weather. They seed the clouds. Keep a pocket notebook or a simple phone note and capture the phrases you repeat about work, money, love, and health. Not to judge yourself, but to map the terrain. When you see the phrases on paper, you see the loops that run the day. Notice how your body reacts to these loops. Shoulders rise, jaw tightens, breath turns shallow. Your state is not abstract. It lives in muscle and breath. When you catch the pattern, pause for 10 seconds and exhale slowly. Name the assumption gently. I'm expecting things to go wrong. Then plant a new one. Today, I move from sufficiency, not from lack. Speak it inwardly with the feeling you would have if it were already the most natural thing. Feel the weight of that sentence settle in your chest. Let the breath slow to match it. When you do this several times a day, you interrupt the old reel and preview the new selection. The mirror starts to tilt. The beam starts to warm. Next, become precise. Vague desires create fog. The mirror reflects a blur when the projector sends a blur. Choose one clear outcome and craft a tiny scene that would be true only if your desire were already fulfilled. Not the announcement email, not the struggle toward it. If you want a new role, feel the handshake weeks after the change. Hear a friend saying, "You've settled in so well," and notice the calm confidence in your own voice. If you want a home, feel the grass cool under your feet at dusk while guests laugh on the patio, and the light over the kitchen sink throws a familiar glow. Make the scene short, specific, and sensory. The shorter the scene, the stronger the signal. Now place that scene in the right state. The most fertile time is the boundary between waking and sleep. Let the body fall quiet, inch by inch, as if you were dimming the lights in a theater. Relax the forehead, the tongue, the hands, the belly, the thighs. You are not forcing sleep. You are stepping into the threshold where the senses loosen and imagination brightens. In that softened place, do not watch the scene from across the room. Step into it. See through your own imagined eyes. Touch the cup. Hear the door click. Smell the night air. Most importantly, feel the naturalness of it. Not fireworks, not drama. The simple, obvious feeling of something that has already become part of your life. Let that feeling be the anchor. Hold the scene lightly, but fully, until it feels more actual than the room. If the mind wanders, return without irritation. If the body twitches, soften again. End the rehearsal still feeling satisfied and let sleep carry it. This is not magic. This is disciplined gentleness. Your work is to select and to feel. The rearrangement of details is not your department. The mirror will do its work because the image is set. When you wake, do not run back to the mirror and demand evidence. The gardener does not dig up the sprout each morning to measure it. Walk the day as the person who owns the state you selected. Handle emails, errands, and conversations from that quiet confidence. Let the old evidence fade like yesterday's weather report. Persistence here is sacred. Impatience is the common thief. Many abandon the practice after a few days. Because the old reel still plays in familiar corners. That is predictable. The world of effects contains momentum. Let it run down while you keep the new selections steady. When the old story tries to hook you, return to breath. Return to the simple sentence that defines your state. When you hold the inner tone, meetings feel different. When you keep the inner picture, doors you never noticed stand ajar. The skeptic calls it luck. The practitioner recognizes a reflection. Not all shifts announce themselves with trumpets. Many arrive as quiet rightness, the friction gone. The next step clear. Desire deserves a kinder name. You have probably been told that wanting is the problem. That detachment means the absence of all longing. But watch how life moves. Seeds lean toward light. Rivers seek the low places. Desire is the current by which creation flows. The key is not to condemn desire, but to discern which desire carries the signature of your deepest center. Fleeting wishes pass like birds. Deep desire keeps returning, even when you try to dismiss it. When such a desire appears, it does not come empty. It arrives with the state that matches it, like a key paired to a door. Your task is to accept the key and step through without apology. To desire is to recognize a future already written in the field. To assume is to choose which paragraph becomes your page. Responsibility follows naturally. If the mirror reflects without bias, there is no ultimate place to deposit blame. That thought can sting at first because it removes familiar excuses. Then it liberates because it returns all leverage to your hands. You are not at the mercy of headlines. You are not at the mercy of other people's moods. You are responsible for the state you bring, and from that state, the choreography proceeds. When you forget, you do not lose the power. You simply let it run on old settings. Voluntarily forgetting is part of the human adventure. We enter the stage and take the role so seriously that we overlook the script in our pocket. The point is not to never forget. The point is to remember sooner and return with grace. Many traditions frame the sleep threshold as sacred. Many people find the early hours unusually quiet, as if the mind grip has softened and the air carries a softer pressure. Some researchers suggest that attention and imagery can become more vivid when the body is deeply relaxed, and many cultures view dawn and dusk as symbolic gateways. You do not need hard proofs for reverent practice. You need a simple rhythm you will keep. When you treat stillness as a technology, you bring the sacred into the practical. When you treat imagination as a faculty, not a fantasy, you give it a rightful seat at the table. Inner work becomes daily craftsmanship rather than occasional emergency. Thread it all together and a clean arc emerges. When you notice, you interrupt drift. When you assume, you reset direction. When you rehearse, you teach the mirror a new image. When you persist, you let the field reorganize. In darkness and in light, you stay with the tone. In noise and in quiet, you return to breath. In the pull to prove and the invitation to trust, you choose trust as a practice. When you honor the deep desire, doors open. When you honor the deep desire, strength returns. When you honor the deep desire, the mind stops fighting the heart. You stop polishing the glass and work with the beam. You stop chasing effects and stand at the cause. Remember this, when the old story tugs at your sleeve, you are not trying to build a mountain with your hands. You are learning to tune the dial, one click at a time, one evening at a time, one rehearsal at a time. The promise is not strain, but selection. The promise is not hustle, but alignment. The promise is not control over others, but clarity within yourself. Quiet clarity has a way of changing the room, because people feel states more than they follow arguments. Your presence becomes a gentle permission slip. Your steadiness becomes a lighthouse when weather turns strange. Let's make it practical for the next day. During the day, pair awareness with breath. When an old phrase rises, exhale slowly and trade it for a clean one. When impatience spikes, step outside for 60 seconds and look at the farthest point you can see. Distance resets the nervous system. At lunch, close your eyes for 30 seconds and recall the after scene. Feel the ordinary goodness of it. Not a peak moment, a Tuesday feeling. On your commute or your walk, practice gratitude not as a list, but as a tone. Thank the body for carrying you. Thank the air for entering your lungs. Gratitude is not a bargain. Gratitude is alignment with sufficiency. Tonight, do the full rehearsal. Choose one specific desire. Craft the tiny after scene. Let the body go quiet. Step inside the scene and feel the texture of it. If your mind argues, nod and return to the feeling. If your timeline tries to scare you, nod and return to the feeling. Sleep from that place. In the morning, carry the tone into your first 3 sentences of the day. When you greet someone, greet them from the new state. When you open your inbox, open it from the new state. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for evidence. You are walking as the version of you whose assumption has already settled. You will meet friction. Old patterns will ask for one more dance. Smile, decline, and step back into the chosen state. When you falter, return without drama. This work is cumulative. Small repetitions compound. The beam strengthens, the mirror responds. Coincidences will arrive on their own schedule. Some will look ordinary. Some will feel uncanny. Do not rank them. Receive and continue. The point is not to score manifestations. The point is to become a person who lives at cause, who treats inner life as the first infrastructure. Your world becomes friendlier because your stance becomes steadier. Your choices grow cleaner because the noise loses authority. If you ever doubt, remember the simple contrasts that guide you. Reaction narrows. Response opens. Noise scatters. Quiet concentrates. Drift blurs. Intent sharpens. When you choose the inner tone first, the outer scene has fewer sharp corners. When you choose the inner tone first, you stop negotiating with your worth. When you choose the inner tone first, your time stops feeling like small change. The field is generous. It will meet you where you are and mirror what you hold. Hold wisely. Hold kindly. Hold with the softness of someone who knows they are already home. Here is your 60-second practice for tonight. Sit or lie down comfortably. Close your eyes and scan your body from feet to head, inviting each area to soften. Breathe in for a slow count of 4 and out for a slow count of 6, 3 times. State your chosen assumption in a simple sentence. I live from sufficiency. I am welcomed in my work. I belong in my own life. See your tiny after scene through your own eyes, and feel the ordinary ease of it. Let a small smile rise, as if you were already living it. When the feeling settles, allow sleep to carry it. That is all. Gentle. Precise. Enough. Thank you for giving your attention to this practice. Your time is sacred, and I honor it. In the comments, tell me the one scene you will rehearse tonight, and the single word that names your chosen state. If this served you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs calm courage today, and watch our next video for a morning alignment. You can layer on to this evening ritual